Alright, so make this video to tell you whether or not I think Battlefield Hardline is any good. So let me start out by telling you that I have not played Battlefield 4 extensively. I only played it for about the first 2 months after the release date, after which I kinda stopped playing entirely. So consider this somewhat of an outsider's perspective to Battlefield. Although I have played the other Battlefield games quite extensively, so not completely foreign with Battlefield, just not kept up with Battlefield 4. Nonetheless, do I think it's any good? Well, I've played it, and I'm gonna admit I had fun playing Battlefield Hardline. I enjoyed playing it, but so far it does feel like a reskin of Battlefield 4. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because Battlefield 4 was fine, it just didn't really stick with me, but I'm gonna assume at least half of the gun sounds are reused in this game. Actually, interesting thing is if you try out the radio messages, and they're probably gonna change this before release, but half of the radio messages seem to be reused from Battlefield 4, because if you use one radio call out, which you do on PC by holding Q, you hear this like buff police voice, like Vic Vance if you watch that one series, which is actually a quite good series. The Shield, you should watch it, it's quite good. But yeah, you hear this buff police dudes calling out on the radio, and if you toggle another option, you hear this like muffled radio sound, this soldier in duress. So gonna assume they are gonna change that before release, but kinda just to show you how it's sort of refurbished from Battlefield 4. Even the developers themselves have said that the code / fixes for Battlefield 4 are interchangeable with this game. So yeah, it's kind of a reskin of Battlefield 4. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does kind of make you feel like this is more of a DLC add-on instead of actually a full-fledged game. Now, of course, this game is going to feature an entirely new single-player campaign, as well as more maps than you can see in the beta right now, as well as more weapons, as well as a new theme / factions. So I guess they can charge you full for this, but I have my doubts as to whether or not it's worth it. Depends on how deeply you are invested in Battlefield. Anyways, to get into this game, so of course it's the cops and robbers theme. Those are not the actual faction names, but that's just what it is. So with this, your arsenal is somewhat limited compared to the military we had before, although not by much surprisingly, but that's another discussion entirely. But yeah, you don't have crazy attack helicopters and you don't have any tanks. You do have this like armored truck with sort of like a grenade launcher on top and a machine gun, which is comparable to a tank, but yeah, no tank so far. You do have motorcycles and fast cars, as well as armored troop carriers and scout helicopters with machine guns. So it's still a Battlefield game with that. Now in the beta you have 2 game modes, Blood Money and Heist. Blood Money is pretty much just capture the flag, with a spin though. So you have a central money pile which spawns on the map, and you have 2 teams. The 2 teams have a base / spawn area with a truck where they have to bring the money to. So you get the money from the money pile in the middle and you bring that to your spawn region, and that progresses your team score. So you have to reach a certain amount of money and then you win. The catch is though that the other team can go towards your base area and actually steal your money and bring it back to their base. So you gotta defend your base as well as get the money. So it's kind of like capture the flag with a spin. So the second game mode is Heist. At the beginning of the game, 2 armored trucks are blown open, and then the robbers have to take the money from the trucks over towards an extraction point, and the police force have to stop them. These are the 2 game modes. The full release game is gonna have more game modes, but these are just the 2 you can play on, and for as far as I can tell, you can only play on 1 map in the beta. Of course, in the release version there's going to be more maps as well. Then the classes, well, they're pretty much the same as in Battlefield 4. You got the Operator class, which is pretty much the Assault class. You got the Mechanic class, which is the Engineer class. You got the Enforcer class, which is the Support class. You got the Professional class, which is the Recon class. It's not much change there, although one interesting thing with the Assault class is actually, well, Operator class. Not Assault class, but it's pretty much the same class. One interesting thing with this class is that you have a gadget which you can actually buy, which is a self-revive option. So once per life, if you're shot down and you don't die by like a headshot or an explosion, you can revive yourself. You don't have to get a teammate to do it for you. And I kinda doubt this is gonna stay in the full release version, because it's kinda cheesy. So I have one example of that in this video. You basically, you just get shot, you wait for the guy that shot you to pass you, you revive yourself, you stand up and you shoot him in his back. Not really too cool. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna stay in the release version, or they're gonna change it somewhat. But yeah, and when it comes to classes, they're pretty much just the same as in Battlefield 4, not much change there. Although one interesting thing is, and I'm not awfully sure about this, but I think you can actually buy weapons, kind of like if you played Call of Duty, that one game that nobody wants to talk about. Like Call of Duty Black Ops, a system where you can actually buy weapons with cash instead of having to wait for a level to unlock them. And that's what it seems to be. This could be changed in the release version, but I looked at the operator class options and I could buy all the weapons. Basically, when you level up, well, you unlock more cash for your character, which you can use to buy equipment and weapons and all that. So it seems to sort of have like the Black Ops system. I'm not entirely sure about that though, so do point it out if I'm terribly wrong on that. But that is somewhat interesting though, because I kind of don't really like the whole level unlock thing, because it basically just means that you have to invest time into unlocking certain weapons. Whereas with this, you can actually just choose what you want without having to spend too much time doing it. So that's sort of the multiplayer. As I said before, I have had fun playing this. It was enjoyable, but do I think it's revolutionary? No. Some interesting things though, they have added like a zipline crossbow, which is not revolutionary either, but it's somewhat interesting, I guess. And a couple of changes. Suppression seems to be pretty much gone entirely, which is okay with me because I never really liked it all that much. And if you walk up to a medic or an ammo carrier, you can actually press E and get ammo or health from them instead of having to wait for them to actually throw like one of those packages out towards you, which is actually a really nice change because some people are just not aware of their surroundings, so this is definitely a good change. Now of course the full game is also going to come with a single player mode. I have my highest doubts that it's going to be any good. If you look at the Battlefield 4 campaign, it wasn't really all that great. Because Battlefield sort of seems to be following the Call of Duty trend of having explosions around every corner, QTE events, Michael Bay scenes, corridor shooting, and having to wait for your teammates to open up doors. So I'm gonna assume it's gonna be like that with like an overly dramatic storyline, kinda like Battlefield 4. Although they could surprise me, maybe they're gonna go the BC route and actually open up the maps a tad bit to allow for some actual Battlefield gameplay. Guess we'll have to wait for that. But yeah, that's a short mini review of Battlefield Hardline. Of course, this is the beta, so don't take this as a full-on review. Do I think it's worth your money at this point? Not really. I mean, it depends on how deeply you are invested in Battlefield. If you really want to play this, by all means, spend your money on it. If you're a bit hesitant and you didn't really like Battlefield 4 all that much, then I wouldn't really advise you to buy this day one. Could wait for it to go on sale. That might take a while though, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna buy this day one. I'm probably gonna wait for it to be half off and then buy it. But yeah, that was my mini review. So it's alright, but it's not revolutionary and it's pretty much a reskin of Battlefield 4. So take that as you please. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video.